This video tutorial is all about the structure of the heart. The mammalian heart is a muscular pump. It's divided into two sides. The right side pumps the deoxygenated blood to the lungs to be oxygenated, whilst the left side pumps oxygenated blood to the rest of the body. On both sides, the heart squeezes the blood, putting it under pressure, and this pressure forces the blood along the arteries and through the circulatory system. In humans, the heart lies just off-center, towards the left of the chest cavity. The main part of the heart consists of a firm, dark red muscle called cardiac muscle. There are two main pumping chambers. We've got the atria and the ventricles. Lying over the heart are the coronary arteries. Now, these supply oxygenated blood to the heart muscle. As the heart is an incredibly hard-working organ, these arteries are very important. If they become constricted, it can have severe consequences for the health of the heart. Restricted blood flow to the heart muscle reduces the delivery of oxygen and nutrients such as fatty acids and glucose. Now, this can cause angina or a myocardial infarction, which is just a fancy way of saying a heart attack. At the top of the heart are a number of tubular blood vessels. These are the veins that carry blood into the atria and the arteries that carry blood away from the heart. We're now going to look at the internal features of the mammalian heart. So the heart is divided into four chambers. The two upper chambers are called the atria. These receive blood from the major veins. Deoxygenated blood from the body flows through the vena cava into the right atria. Oxygenated blood from the lungs flows through the pulmonary vein into the left atria. From the atria, the blood flows down through the atrioventricular valves into the ventricles. The action of the valves is described later on in this topic. Attached to the valves are tendons, known as tendinous cords. These prevent the valves from turning inside out when the ventricle walls contract. A wall of muscle, called the septum, separates the ventricles from each other. This ensures that the oxygenated blood in the left side of the heart and the deoxygenated blood on the right side of the heart are kept separate. Deoxygenated blood leaving the right ventricle flows into the pulmonary artery, leading to the lungs, where it is oxygenated. Oxygenated blood leaving the left ventricle flows into the aorta. This carries blood to a number of arteries that supply all parts of the body. At the base of the major arteries, where they exit the heart, are the semilunar valves. These prevent blood returning to the heart as the ventricles contract. If we were at school, we would now carry out a dissection of the heart. Now, this is something you can definitely do at home, as hearts are readily available from all local butchers. You should begin by observing the outside of the mammalian heart. Ensure you can locate, for example, the aorta and the pulmonary artery. You should then carefully cut into the ventricles, noting the thickness of the walls in each case. You can then cut upwards towards the atria to expose the atrioventricular valves and see if you can note where the valves are, as well as the tendinous cords. We're now going to have a little think about the thickness of the different parts of the heart, and this can be shown on the right-hand side of this slide in the dissection photo. The cardiac muscle in the wall of each chamber contracts to create pressure in the blood. The higher the pressure created in the heart, the further it will push the blood. The muscle of the atrial walls is very thin. This is because these chambers do not need to create much pressure. Their function is to receive blood from the veins and push it into the arteries. Now have a little look at the right ventricle. The walls of the right ventricle are thicker than the walls of the atria. This enables the right ventricle to pump blood out of the heart. The right ventricle pumps deoxygenated blood to the lungs. The lungs are in the chest cavity beside the heart, so that the blood does not need to travel very far. Also, the alveoli in the lungs are very delicate, and this could be damaged by high blood pressure. Finally, the left ventricles. Now, as you can see on the image in front of you, the walls of the left ventricles are incredibly thick in comparison. In fact, they can be 2 or 3 times thicker than those of the right ventricle. The blood from the left ventricle is pumped out of the aorta and needs sufficient pressure to overcome the resistance of the systemic circulation. Finally, we're going to look at the cardiac muscle structure. So the cardiac muscle consists of fibers that branch, producing cross bridges. This helps to spread the stimulus around the heart and also ensure that the muscle can produce a squeezing action rather than a simple reduction in length. There are numerous mitochondria between the muscle fibers, which are known as myofibrils, to supply energy for contraction. The muscle cells are separated by intercalated discs, which facilitate synchronized contraction. Each cell has a nucleus and is divided into contractile units called sarcomeres.